I rushed home to care for Grandma, only to discover my brother sold our childhood house behind my back. Now I must fight to reclaim our legacy. Beginning. I never expected that coming home would feel like losing everything all over again. My name is Dante Sinclair, I'm 25, and after years in the city, I finally returned to Ridgewood to care for my grandmother, Evelyn Sinclair, 70, whose health had begun to fail. Growing up with my older brother, Cyrus Sinclair, now 29, we'd been inseparable in childhood. Yet there was always an edge to Cyrus, a calculating glint beneath his easy smile that I forgave because I loved him. Grandma loved us both fiercely, never playing favorites. Our family home, an old Victorian on Maple Street, was our sanctuary. I could still taste Grandma's Sunday apple pies in the sunlit kitchen and hear Cyrus's triumphant shouts as he built forts in the attic. When Grandma called me days before my job interview in Chicago, her voice trembled. "Darling, I need you. I can't manage the house alone anymore." I leapt at the chance to come back, eager to repay her kindness. Stepping off the train in Ridgewood, I felt a rush of nostalgia. The crisp autumn air, the honk of cars on Main Street, and the distant ring of the church bell. Cyrus met me at the station, his tailored suit and polished shoes a stark contrast to my travel-worn jeans and backpack. "Dante, welcome home," he grinned, clapping me on the shoulder, yet his eyes flickered to my duffel bag as if calculating its worth. I smiled back. "Good to see you, bro." First afternoon at Grandma's. At Grandma's house, sunlight spilled through stained glass windows. I crossed the threshold, inhaling the scent of lavender and worn wood. Evelyn sat in her favorite armchair, shawl draped over her shoulders, her silver hair softly framing her face. "Dante!" she croaked, struggling to rise. I dropped my bag and rushed to help her. "Thank heavens you're here!" We hugged, and I felt the gentle warmth of her arms. Too soon, I helped her sit back. "I'll take things from here, Grandma. You just focus on resting." She nodded gratefully. "Your brother, he's been helping, but I can't keep up." I shot Cyrus a glance. He stood by the mantel, tidy and composed. "I'll cook dinner," I said. Cyrus extended his hand. "I'll assist Grandma with paperwork." That evening, as I stirred soup on the stove, Grandma called from the living room. "Dante, can you bring me the ledger on the coffee table?" I crossed over and handed her the book. Cyrus hovered, flipping pages with practiced ease. The shocking discovery. 2 days later, while sorting mail, I noticed an envelope addressed to Grandma from a local real estate attorney. Inside was a letter, typed, formal, informing her that the property at 142 Maple Street had been sold to Silverton Development for $325,000. The closing date, 2 weeks ago. Best of all, the letter stated, the seller was Cyrus Sinclair, acting under power of attorney granted by Evelyn. My heart froze. Grandma's frail hand trembled as she read. "I never signed. I never agreed." I snatched the letter. "Grandma, what is this?" I demanded, voice raw. She shook her head, tears welling. "Cyrus said he was helping me downsize. I trusted him." Anger flared. I stormed into the study. Cyrus sat behind Grandma's ornate desk, steepling his fingers. "What the hell, Cyrus?" I barked. "You sold the house without telling me." "Or Grandma." He sighed. "Dante, calm down. Grandma wanted to move closer to town. I expedited the sale." I slammed my palm on the desk. "She didn't ask you to sell her home. That house holds all our memories. You had no right." Cyrus rose, face pale but eyes hard. "I did what was best. You left for the city. I stayed behind to take care of things." I shook my head. "You betrayed us." Aftermath. That night, Grandma sobbed in her bedroom. Cyrus retreated to the guest room. I paced the empty halls of the now vacant house, fingering Grandma's old photo frames and the tarnished doorknob. Rage and sorrow coiled in my chest. I called my best friend from the city, Maribel Cruz, her voice soothing on speakerphone. "He sold the house, Mari. Can you believe it?" She gasped. "No way. You're gonna fight this, right?" I clenched my fist. "I will. I won't let him erase our past." Update 1. The morning after I discovered the sale, I sat at the kitchen table with Grandma's ledger and the sale documents spread before me. A thin shaft of sunlight illuminated the faded handwriting of past rent checks and the cold, typed signature of Cyrus Sinclair. Grandma shuffled in, robe trailing. "Dante, I'm so sorry." I rose and embraced her. "It's not your fault, Grandma. We'll fix this." Gathering evidence. First, I needed proof that Cyrus had acted without proper authority. I retrieved the power of attorney document he'd produced. A hastily notarized form dated 1 week before the sale. I compared it to the original signed copy Grandma had, an older version granting limited powers for bill paying, never for real estate transactions. Cyrus had forged her signature on a new form. My jaw clenched. This wasn't just betrayal, it was fraud. Confronting Cyrus. That afternoon, I found Cyrus in the garage, stacking boxes. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "I know you forged Grandma's signature," I accused. He paused, chest tight. "Dante, it wasn't an outright forgery, I thought." "You thought you could steal our family's home?" I cut in. "You sold her sanctuary behind her back." He dropped the box. "You left here to chase your dreams. I stayed and dealt with her care. The house was a burden, maintenance, taxes. I made a painful but necessary decision." "A decision you forced on Grandma," I spat. "She's 70, living on her memories. You robbed her." He clenched fists. "I did what I had to do." I shook my head. "No, you did what you wanted. And now, I'm going to undo it." Seeking legal advice. Next, I scheduled an appointment with attorney Maribel Torres, my friend, and a sharp legal mind. In her sleek downtown office, I laid out the documents: the forged power of attorney, the original, the deed transfer, Grandma's objection letter. Maribel's brow furrowed. "Cyrus committed elder fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. We have grounds to file a petition to rescind the sale and demand restitution." My heart thudded. "Can we reverse it?" She nodded. "If the buyer was unaware of the fraud, and if we can prove undue influence and forgery, the court can void the sale. But we must act quickly. Silverton Development may claim they're a bona fide purchaser." I exhaled. "Do it. Grandma's home isn't for sale." Rallying Grandma's support. That evening, I gathered Grandma in her living room. "Clara, sorry, Grandma. Maribel's on our side. We're going to sue to get this house back." Her hands trembled around her teacup. "Are you sure, dear? These people are big developers." I knelt beside her. "We're sure. This is your home. I won't let anyone take it." She nodded, eyes brimming. "Thank you, Dante. You have a good heart." I squeezed her hand. "Just wait." The civil action. Within days, Maribel filed a complaint for rescission in the county court on Grandma's behalf, naming Cyrus and Silverton Development. It alleged forged power of attorney. Cyrus falsified Grandma's signature. Elder abuse/fraud. He exploited her age and trust to execute a sale. Undue influence and breach of fiduciary duty. As her legal agent, he had a duty to act in her best interest. The summons went out. Cyrus received his copy at his apartment. Silverton's counsel received theirs at the developer's address. The clock was ticking. Silverton would answer in 30 days. Cyrus' reaction. Word reached me that Cyrus visited Grandma that night. The next morning, I found her in the garden clutching a wilted rose. "He blames me," she whispered. "Says I was too trusting, that I forced him into a corner." I hugged her. "He'll realize the truth in court. You did nothing wrong." Gathering allies. Maribel suggested reaching out to community allies. Neighbors who remembered Grandma's decades of hospitality and Cyrus's sudden secrecy. I knocked on Mrs. Hanley's door, the woman who lived next door and had watched us grow up. She invited me in, eyes sympathetic. "I saw developers surveying the lot before the sale," she recalled. "I asked Cyrus. He said he was planning to downsize Granny into a condo. I showed her the forged documents." She gasped. "He lied to me too." She agreed to testify. She'd been present when Cyrus presented a fake downsizing plan to Grandma, pressuring her to agree. Preparing for court. Over 2 weeks, I helped Maribel compile depositions. Mrs. Hanley, the notary who signed the POA, she'd claimed she witnessed Grandma's signature, but her notarization stamp was misaligned. Proof she never saw the actual signature. The Silverton agent who handled the transfer, and Grandma's original bank manager. Each testimony built our case. Cyrus manipulated records, misled witnesses, and coerced Grandma. Silverton's agents had oversight gaps. They failed to verify Grandma's capacity or the agent's authority. Maribel crafted a motion for temporary restraining order, preventing Silverton from closing on the property transfer until resolution. The judge granted it, meaning no new owners could claim title until our case proceeded. I felt a surge of hope. We had a chance. Emotional toll. Yet the legal battle weighed heavily. Grandma's health wavered under stress. Cyrus avoided me, his silence cutting. I found myself awake in Grandma's empty bedroom at night, recalling childhood bedtime stories and Carter's gentle voice. I promised him silently, "I will honor your legacy." Levi stepped in, taking over household chores and renewing Grandma's bills. His support leveled my anxiety. The first hearing. On a cold morning, we arrived at the county courthouse for the TRO hearing. The judge, a stern man named Judge Caldwell, no relation, reviewed the motion. Silverton's lawyer argued they had a good faith purchase and that rescission would harm development plans. Maribel countered. Equity demands we protect a vulnerable elder. Fraud cannot be tolerated simply because a corporation acted in good faith. After deliberation, Judge Caldwell ruled, temporary restraining order remains in effect, and a full evidentiary hearing is scheduled in 45 days. Silverton must maintain the status quo. I exhaled relief. Grandma's home and memories remained ours for now. Update 2. The weeks following our temporary victory felt like walking a tightrope. Grandma's house was safe from sale, for now, but the battle lines had sharpened. Silverton Development and Cyrus's legal team were circling, ready to strike. We could taste both hope and hostility in the crisp autumn air. Cyrus strikes back. On a damp Tuesday morning, Grandma awakened to an ominous knock. Cyrus stood on the porch, face drawn, holding a thick envelope. "I'm sorry it's come to this," he began, voice low, "but I've filed a counterclaim, alleging you're mentally incompetent and I was acting in your best interest." Grandma's hands trembled. "Cyrus, I know what I signed and what I didn't." He exhaled sharply. "The court will decide." He left the envelope on the porch and drove away in his sleek SUV. Inside lay his counterclaim, letters from doctors stating he had arranged medical evaluations, claiming Grandma struggled with memory loss and needed guardianship. I slammed the door. "He's trying to paint you as unfit." Grandma's eyes filled. "He always thought I was too old." I steeled myself. "We'll fight back." Enlisting medical support. To counter his claim, we needed medical proof of Grandma's capacity. Maribel recommended Dr. Hannah Lowe, a respected geriatric psychiatrist. We arranged an independent evaluation at her clinic. Dr. Lowe greeted us warmly. "Miss Sinclair, I have reviewed your medical records and conducted cognitive exams, memory recall, decision-making tasks, and comprehension assessments." She smiled. "You're lucid and fully capable of managing your affairs." We received a report. Grandma's mental faculties were sound, with scores well within the normal range for her age. This document would dismantle Cyrus's incompetency claim. Community outcry. Word of Cyrus's attempts to strip Grandma's rights spread through Ridgewood like wildfire. Neighbors who once greeted Cyrus politely now offered condolences and outrage. At the local diner, Mrs. Hanley slid into my booth. "I can't believe he'd go this far," she said, voice low. "He's losing his mind, or maybe his conscience." I nodded. "He's desperate, but the community's behind us." Over the next days, neighbors hung "Save the Sinclair Home" signs in their yards. A petition circulated, gathering signatures from old friends of Carter, former parishioners of the church, and families who benefited from Grandma's kindness. Even the high school principal offered to testify about Grandma's engagement in community fundraisers. The groundswell of support strengthened my resolve. We weren't just fighting in court, we had the town's moral backing, Silverton's legal maneuvers. Meanwhile, Silverton Development escalated. Their attorneys served us with requests for production of documents, demanding all communications between Grandma and her advisors, our financial records related to the property, and any correspondence about estate planning. Maribel frowned as she reviewed the requests. They're fishing for anything: emails, notes, text messages. They hope to find inconsistencies or privileged information to discredit us. I clenched my jaw. We'll comply. Everything's honest. But, under Maribel's guidance, we redacted privileged lawyer-client and medical communications. We provided only relevant legal and financial records, carefully logging every document. Maribel filed the corresponding privilege logs to protect Grandma's confidentiality. Building the emotional case. As the court date approached, we recognized the power of an emotional narrative. Maribel suggested gathering affidavits of character, heartfelt letters from those whose lives Grandma and Carter had touched over decades, former neighbors, church members, and distant cousins. I spent Sundays visiting folks. Pastor Jenkins, who recalled Carter's impromptu repair of the church's steeple, and Grandma's weekly baked goods ministry. Ms. Patel, the schoolteacher, who remembered Grandma tutoring children in reading. Mr. Dawson, Carter's old foreman, who credited him with building the town's first playground where Cyrus and I learned to swing. Each letter painted a portrait of integrity, compassion, and mental clarity, undermining Cyrus's portrayal of Grandma as frail and confused. The mediation session. 45 days after our TRO, we arrived at a courtroom conference room for mandatory mediation. The judge appointed mediator Linda Ortega, known for her stern yet fair approach. We sat at a long table, Maribel and me on one side, Cyrus flanked by his attorney and a Silverton representative on the other. Grandma sat beside me, wrapped in a shawl. Ortega began. We are here to explore settlement, perhaps partial return of the property, financial compensation, or revised guardianship. Cyrus's attorney spoke first. Our clients wish to avoid a protracted trial. We propose splitting the proceeds, half to Silverton, half to Grandma's new trust, managed by Cyrus. I stood. Absolutely not. The entire proceeds were obtained by fraud. Grandma's home must be returned. Silverton's representative interjected. We invested in renovations. We're entitled to compensation. Maribel responded. Any compensation must come from Cyrus personally, not Grandma. She never agreed to this. You cannot profit from fraud. For 2 hours, arguments volleyed. Grandma wept quietly as her life's work became a bargaining chip. Finally, Ortega called a recess. Returning, she delivered a stern admonition. This court favors complete rescission when fraud is evident. Silverton may submit a proposal no larger than 10% of the sale price to cover bona fide improvements. Cyrus must relinquish all claims. Submit written proposals by week's end. Rallying to victory. Buoyed by the mediator's stance, we publicized the news, keeping the community engaged. Local news reported. Mediator urges full return of Sinclair home after fraud findings. Public letters to the editor praised Grandma's resilience and condemned Cyrus's actions. Silverton, faced with immense public pressure, withdrew their demand for half the proceeds. Instead, they offered 5%, about $16,250 to cover minor improvements. We accepted, demanding the rest of the sale price be returned to rescind the deed. Cyrus, cornered, refused to sign the settlement. He wanted more. At the next hearing, Judge Caldwell ruled. Silverton's purchase rescinded. Deed reverted to Evelyn Sinclair. Cyrus's power of attorney revoked, and he is ordered to pay $20,000 in sanctions for abusing legal process. Grandma's gasp echoed through the courtroom. I squeezed her hand. Justice was ours. The homecoming. A week later, on a crisp November afternoon, I drove Grandma back to the family home. She inhaled the familiar scent, pine floors and lilac from the garden. I unlocked the door and swept my arm wide. We're home, I whispered. Tears welled in her eyes. Thanks to you, my darling. Inside, we found Cyrus seated by the fireplace, his shoulders slumped. He offered a stiff nod. I met his gaze. You lost everything, Cyrus. Not because you lacked rights, but because you broke our trust. He looked away. I'm sorry, Dante. I turned back to Grandma. Let's start fresh. As I helped Grandma out of the car, I glanced back at Cyrus, an uneasy mix of remorse and isolation. He'd driven a wedge, but our family's unity prevailed, rebuilding trust. That evening, we gathered in the living room. Grandma held court, her cozy armchair at center stage. I called Cyrus forward. "You hurt Grandma and me," I began. "But this is still your home too, if you're willing to earn back our trust." He swallowed, voice thick. "I want to make amends." I nodded. "Show it. Help fix the house, paint the porch, tend the garden, volunteer at the community center like Grandma." He exhaled. "I will." Maribel, invited as witness, added a practical note. "We'll file a mutual release of all claims once you complete community service hours and a formal apology to Grandma. Then we can truly move forward." Cyrus agreed. In that first step toward reconciliation, I glimpsed the brother I once knew. As the house settled into a quiet night, Grandma whispered, "You did good, Dante." I kissed her forehead. It was always our home. Update 3. Spring arrived in Ridgewood with lilacs blooming and the scent of freshly tilled earth drifting on the breeze. After the fierce legal battles and the restoration of Grandma's home, our focus shifted toward rebuilding not just walls and gardens, but trust and community ties that had frayed under Cyrus's betrayal. The community hub flourishes. The Winfield Community Hub, the former carriage house we renovated in Carter's honor, opened its doors to spring workshops. On this bright Saturday, children and seniors mingled inside, and I watched from the doorway as Cyrus led a woodworking class for local teens. He demonstrated how to sand a piece of oak into a smooth tabletop. At his side, Grandma Evelyn distributed lemonade. Cyrus's confident but gentle instruction drew smiles and eager hands. I realized how far we'd come. The same brother who once sold our home was now teaching teens to build safe tables of their own. I stepped inside and tapped Cyrus's shoulder. He turned, surprised, then offered a proud grin. "Look at this place," he whispered. "We did good." I nodded, feeling a swell of pride. Dad would be proud, reconnecting with neighbors. After the workshop, I joined Mrs. Hanley and Pastor Jenkins in the garden behind the hub, where new rose bushes had taken root. Mrs. Hanley handed me a clipboard. "We're starting a monthly Ridgewood Remembers newsletter," she explained. "Stories about families, history, and our shared heritage. Will you help edit?" I accepted. "I'd love to," Pastor Jenkins added. "And we'll include Carter's story, how he built this town, and how his children carry on." I felt Carter's presence in their words. The hub had become more than a center. It was the heart of a community ready to remember and heal. Cyrus's continued redemption. One afternoon, Cyrus approached me at the Sinclair home with an armful of paint cans. "We're repainting Grandma's porch," he announced. "Summer weather's perfect." Grandma watched from her rocking chair. "Thank you, Cyrus." As we painted together, Cyrus on the railing and me on the steps. He spoke quietly. "I've been working extra hours at the hardware store to cover the sanctions and the hub costs," he said. "I want to make things right, penny by penny." I handed him a brush. "You're doing more than enough." His shoulders relaxed. It feels good to give back rather than take away, uncovering hidden memories. While sorting through boxes in the attic, I came across a dusty trunk marked Avery, 1989. Inside were Carter's old journals from when Grandma and he first bought the house. I read by the attic window, candle flickering. April 12, 1989. Today I signed the papers on this house. Evelyn cried tears of joy in the kitchen. I promised to fill these walls with laughter and love, and to protect them always. June 23, 1991. The garden is blooming. Our boys chase each other barefoot through the daisies. I watched them today, beating imaginary drums of war, then collapsing in fits of giggles. I hope these days never end. My heart ached at those memories. Happy days of brother and sister before greed and misunderstanding, a difficult conversation. That evening I found Cyrus in the study, leafing through Carter's journals. His face was solemn. "I didn't know about these," he said, voice thick. "I forgot how happy we were as kids." I joined him. "We lost sight of that. You thought selling the house was practical, but you forgot what it meant to us." He closed the journal. "I know. I'm sorry I hurt you and Grandma. I can't take back those days, but I want to help create new ones." I rested a hand on his shoulder. "Then let's do it together." A new summer tradition. To cement our renewed bond, we decided to start a summer memory circle, an outdoor gathering where neighbors shared favorite stories of Ridgewood's past and hopes for its future. On the first Sunday of June, folding chairs formed a semicircle on the lawn beside Grandma's porch. A handwritten sign read, "Summer Memories. Share your story." Cyrus and I hosted. I began. I remember Dad chasing me through these blooms and spinning me around until I laughed so hard I cried. Laughter echoed as Miss Patel, now retired from the school, stood and recounted how Grandma taught her to bake cookies for hungry students. Mr. Dawson, the foreman, described Carter's fearless rescue of a toddler on a construction site. Each memory wove a tapestry of community and care. When it was Cyrus's turn, his voice shook as he spoke. "I remember the day I sold this house. I thought I was helping, but I was wrong. I betrayed you all. I'm sorry." Silence. Then Grandma rose and hugged him. "You're forgiven, dear." The guests applauded, and I felt tears of relief. Our family's private healing had become communal restoration, preparing for the final hearing. Behind the scenes, Maribel filed the final motion to permanently void the sale and bar Cyrus from any future fiduciary roles with Grandma. That hearing, scheduled for late June, would close our legal chapter. We gathered evidence one last time. Forged POAs, depositions from witnesses, medical certifications, and community testimonials. The last piece was the Community Hub's charter, showing Cyrus's commitment to restitution, the final court date. On June 28th, we arrived at the courthouse. Grandma, dressed in a lavender dress, sat between me and Cyrus. The gallery held neighbors and Hub volunteers cheering softly in our support. Judge Caldwell reviewed the final submissions, then addressed Cyrus. "Mr. Sinclair, you have demonstrated substantial remedial efforts, community service, restitution sanctions, and voluntary contributions to the Community Hub. However, your initial conduct remained serious." He then ruled, "The deed sale is permanently rescinded. Evelyn Sinclair retains full title. Mr. Cyrus Sinclair is enjoined from any fiduciary authority over Miss Sinclair's affairs and ordered to continue community service until completion of the Hub project." Case closed. Grandma exhaled, beaming. Cyrus bowed his head. I hugged them both. A home renewed. Back at Maple Street, the entrance arch of the Winfield Community Hub glowed under twilight. Volunteers set up folding chairs for an impromptu celebration. I led Grandma inside, passing kids painting murals of Carter's favorite playground. Cyrus stood by the refreshment table, offering lemonade. He caught my eye and nodded. A silent thanks. We stayed late, sharing cookies and memories, laughter dancing like fireflies. The house was ours, the Hub was thriving, and our family, flawed but united, stood stronger for what we'd endured. Update 4. The sun glinted off the freshly painted porch as summer waned into early fall. Our restored home and thriving community hub stood as testaments to the trials we'd overcome. Yet within our family, new beginnings beckoned, a future shaped by forgiveness, growth, and shared purpose, a joint venture. Cyrus approached me one golden afternoon on the porch steps, holding 2 blueprints. "I drew up plans for a memory bench path that circles Grandma's garden and leads to the Hub," he said. "I'd like us, our family and neighbors, to build it together." I unfolded the plans. Benches spaced along a stone path, each inscribed with memories of Carter and longtime residents. "It's beautiful," I told him. "Let's do it." Over the next week, volunteers gathered at dawn and dusk. Families set concrete pavers, Grandma painted inscriptions, Carter's laughter, Avery's first steps, Cyrus's first bike ride, and one blank bench labeled simply, "Your memory here." Children placed painted stones, and neighbors hung wind chimes along the path. Each contribution wove personal histories into a living memorial. On the final evening, as cicadas droned and fireflies flickered, we stood back to admire our work. The path glowed under lanterns, benches inviting visitors. Cyrus hugged me. "Thank you for trusting me with this." I squeezed his shoulder. "Thank you for giving us this gift." Grandma's birthday celebration. Early October marked Grandma Evelyn's 71st birthday. We planned a garden tea party along the memory bench path. Paper lanterns hung from branches. Tables displayed her favorite teas, finger sandwiches, and Carter's famed apple pie. Invitations went to family, Hub members, and town officials. As guests arrived, Grandma sat at the head table, smiling radiantly. Cyrus presented her with a framed photo. Carter lifting toddler Avery on his shoulders in this very garden. She gasped, tears glimmering. Later, I tapped my teacup. To Grandma, strong, wise, and loving. Everyone echoed, to Grandma. Glasses clinked. John, now 9, offered her a single rose. She held it to her heart. My sweetest blooms, she whispered. That night, we danced to Carter's jazz records, slow and graceful, wrapped in twilight warmth. In that circle, siblings, grandparents, spouses, children. We celebrated not just a birthday, but the resilience of love, a quiet reflection. After the party, everyone drifted home except Grandma and me. We sat on the porch swing, watching the lantern's glow fade into night. You did well, Avery, she said softly. This house has seen so much and you've made it whole again. I looked at her, heart full. We all did it. Cyrus, John, Levi, and you. I just helped guide it. She nodded. Your father, my husband, would be proud of the family you built. Tears slipped down my cheeks. I miss him every day. Grandma took my hand. He's here, in these walls, these benches, and in our hearts. And now your brother stands beside you, stronger, passing the torch. One crisp November morning, I accompanied Cyrus to the Winfield Community Hub for the first annual Carter Winfield Memorial Workshop, a free construction safety seminar for teens. Cyrus taught proper tool handling. I shared stories of Carter's emphasis on both safety and creativity. Dozens of families attended, grateful for the knowledge and honoring Carter's legacy. Afterward, a local reporter asked Cyrus, "What's next for the Sinclair family?" He paused, glancing at Grandma tending the memory bench path. We'll keep building homes, community, and trust. My sister reminded me that a house is made of bricks, but a home is built by love. We'll keep building love. Final homecoming. As Thanksgiving approached, we prepared one last gathering at the Sinclair home. Familiar faces filled the rooms, neighbors, hub members, and distant cousins drawn by the memory bench path's renown. We served turkey, stuffing, and Carter's apple pie. Before dessert, I raised a toast. To family, by blood, by choice, and by love. May we always protect our home and each other. Glasses clinked. Cyrus took Grandma's hand. John, perched on his grandfather's bench, watched with wide eyes. The house, never more alive, echoed with gratitude and hope. When trust fractures, rebuilding takes courage, compassion, and unity. Dante and Cyrus's journey shows that forgiveness and family bonds can restore what was lost and create something even stronger. Have you ever rebuilt trust after betrayal? Share your story below. I read every comment.